Welcome to the Combative Nerds Podcast. Join us while we break balls and try to outwit each other at every turn while debating all things nerdom and trying to make sense of this world. Look, I'm not gonna lie, this is a Herculean task and I'm not sure we have enough brain power to do so. At the very least, we can laugh and offend each other through the process. Thanks for sharing your day with us. Now on to our show. Hey, this is Raiderlance doing a short little intro. This is our California Stereotypes Part 2. Now, if you missed Part 1, why don't you go ahead, pause it, jump on over, listen to Part 1, enjoy, and then come back to number 2. Now, for housekeeping, please like, subscribe, share this podcast. We could use any help that you're willing to offer to help us get some traction. All right, ready for me to start crapping on California some more? Okay, here we go. Enjoy.
So a couple of the other things that I wanted to talk about, the talking points that I had were slang terminology.
Oh, this should be fun.
Mostly derived toward surfers and that kind of stuff, which also implies that a lot of Californians know how to surf and whatever. You've heard it at least since the 90s, cowabunga and, surf's up, whatever. You've heard all the slang terminology and how people talk. My wife actually brought up a point when I asked her about this question we were going to be talking about was, how do you feel about Californians? What are some of the stereotypes that you have? And she was like, well, I've actually met a couple of people from California previously, and some of them were Valley girls, and Valley girls is a big thing. So some of the terminology that's used a lot in reference to California, Valley girls and the way they speak, and then everybody knows how to surf. That's in one question. That's kind of one of the things that I wanted to talk about.
That would be like saying everybody in the South is a cowboy. There are elements to that.
Right.
It is true that, the cowboy culture is very, very strong in the South. However, percentage-wise, how many people are practicing it? I don't know, 10, 15% maybe, or cowboy, they live like they're cowboys. However, the 80% are familiar with it, may interject certain aspects of it, but they don't live the cowboy lifestyle, right? So that's what I would say for California. I don't surf, but I have gone surfing. I have owned a surfboard.
Okay.
Right? Every young man who's
waxed it and everything.
I don't think I got to that. No, I did. You're right. I did buy some wax. I would say anybody who lives 15 to 20 miles away from the beach, or if you went to college, at some point you tried surfing. How many people are actual surfers? No, they're far and few. But what I will say is the surfing culture has blended into a lot of the Southern California culture, right? So we have restaurants that the ones Wahoo fish tacos. They're just it's surfer food, right?
That's cool.
And we don't think, oh, that's surfer. We think, oh, that's Wahoos. And everybody else who would walk in from North Dakota would be like, oh, Jesus Christ, what are all these surfers doing around here? There's a ton of beach communities and they live the surfer lifestyle. Their clothes are always airing out outside. Their doors are always open, super congested. Hygiene is not the highest priority. There's a lot of marijuana use. Yeah, man, it's part of the culture. And some of the terminology, I use the term brother all the time. People used to make fun of me and say, man, when we talk to you over the phone or in the game, you sound like Hulk Hogan because you're always calling everybody brother. And it's just, hey, bro, what's up, bro? How you doing, brother? It's just,
yeah.
And I grew up in the ghetto.
Well, I say brother and bro and stuff a lot.
You
too,
say
so
it
I think
different.
that's more universal.
No, you say it different.
Yeah.
No. You totally say it
Okay.
different. I have a different pitch or.
So it's the dialogue. It's the dialect rather.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the only other thing I would say is a lot of the surfers are now bleeding into the Brazilian jiu-jitsu culture.
Oh, no.
So there's this weird melding of people who surf and fight at the same time. It's been an interesting dynamic.
What about the Valley Girl thing? Do you have any input on that? Because my wife specifically asked about that.
Yeah.
So I know that's kind of a big thing, the Valley Girls and their dialect and their oh my God, like the ditziness or whatever that they present or represent,
It is
especially in films and television.
it is true. I wouldn't say it's specifically. Well, no, that might be true. It is more of a northern Los Angeles County, maybe even not even LA County. You're talking like Sherman Oaks, Encino, the actual valley. Uh, I did go to school out there for a little while. I did travel there. In schooling, I did meet the Legally Blonde. I did meet an actual attorney who was like that. Spinning image, same voice, behaved the same.
No.
She was this absolute sweetheart. I loved her to death. Yeah, it's real. I would say the remnant of it, though, is the uptone talk. It's again kind of like the surfer talk with the brother, how it's just kind of part of the culture. The uptone has permeated, or I should say, has bled into and mixed with other aspects than people just in the valley. But I would counter that also as the Hispanic culture and slang, which I'm clearly around more than the African American slang and culture. I would say those two cultures are just as heavy and would counteract Valley. So it almost
drowns it out.
Yeah, what I'm trying to nicely say is it depends on who you meet and what their social status is. Right? And that population doesn't outnumber the other aspects of Californians. So it is there.
Well, that's like one of the other aspects of when you think about Californians, you either think, because you hear about so many homeless people in California, you also think about you're either really rich. It's like Jamaica. I don't know if you've ever been to Jamaica, but like
I've heard.
You're either really rich or really poor. You know what I mean? So it's like there's like a huge divide between the social status of most people in California. So you're either like really rich or you don't make a lot of money at all, or you're living on the street.
What I will say is that is true and also a misconception.
Okay.
Because what I would divide is you're dividing Californians from you're basically separating Californians out into two groups. What I would say is you can do that, but you can also do Californians versus non-Californians, right? Here's what I'm trying to say. Somebody who lives in the ghetto, who is poor in California, is middle to middle upper class in the South, in the Dakotas.
As far as like monetary intake, they're making $70,000 to $80,000 a year.
Yep.
So they'd be middle upper in the South.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Or the equity in their home. I know some crappy homes in the ghetto that are worth $400,000, $500,000.
Jesus.
That's a mini mansion in certain states.
Yeah, that can get you like a mansion in Texas.
You go to my old neighborhood, Boyle Heights, some of those homes are, good historical homes, 4 or 5 bedroom. Now, they've been converted into 4 apartments out of a 4 bedroom, right? So it's a little bit different.
Quadruplexes.
But you put that same home in Orange County, you're looking at 1.1 million, 1.3 million.
That's insane to me.
And that's just a 2,500 square foot home with a tiny yard. Right, that's run down from the 1920s.
I mean, in the South, unless you're talking like Atlanta territory or like some really upper class version of, some Southern district or whatever in the South, like it's like $1 million could buy you probably like an 8-bedroom, 5-bathroom, 5 to 10,000 square foot home. That's the kind of money that you're dealing with in the South. You're talking like a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house, like in California, is $1 million. That's ridiculous.
A 4-bedroom? Did you say 4-bedroom in?
Yeah.
No, that's over $1 million.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely insane.
So on average, so anybody who doesn't already have a home in California, a lot of these younger kids are now having to buy condos or townhomes. And these townhomes are nice, 3-bedroom, 1,600 square feet, 1,800 square feet, amenities with a pool and gyms and barbecues and whatever, cabanas. 600, easy 600. That's average 600,000, and you're just going to have a huge ass mortgage on that thing. That's what you do.
I don't even want to know what the payment's got to be like $3,000 or more a month. You know what I mean? Like if you have good interest rates, like that's insane to me.
It depends how much you put down, right? So I've seen, I have somebody who does mortgages, a close family friend. And it is not uncommon for people who are making cumulative 150 to 200,000 a year, because everybody in California, I'm trying to think, no peer of mine is a single income family. And I have some peers where they're physicians and they're high income earners, their spouses still work. And so people with those type of incomes are still doing an FHA with 3% down. Just because, well, think about it. If you're doing $1 million home, let's say you get lucky and you get $1 million home, and it also depends on the neighborhood, right? You can easily find $1 million home, but everybody wants the best school district in California.
Right.
Everybody wants the safest in California, right? So that may be more of a bias. But let's just say you do $1 million home, whether it's a good neighborhood or a smaller in a good neighborhood, or not such good neighborhood, but a little bit bigger. How many people can come up with $200,000 cash for a down?
Right. Yeah.
You can only do that if you're bankrolling, if you're laundering money, if you made money on crypto.
If the FBI knocked on your door recently.
If you're a banker, or if you refi that money out from a different property.
Right.
I mean, I don't know too many people other than a lot of foreign investors, or there's a lot of Chinese investors, Korean, come with cash. That's a whole different, I don't know that world, but I see it all the time. But most people can't come up with a $200,000 down for your 20%. It's just,
that's insane.
Yeah.
Like for the typical person in, I would say the South, just middle of the road, you make $50,000 to $60,000 a year and that kind of stuff. If you get married and you're with your partner and you've got like some money for a down payment, you're putting 3% down, but you're looking at $10,000 to $15,000. You're not looking at $200,000. That's like retirement money. You know what I mean? Like that's like I'm having to dip into my 401k, sell some other property I own. That's a lot of money in the South. That's insane to me.
I would, if you have a mortgage that's $3,000 or less, you're doing amazing. Average rent in Southern California, and I'm going to do 3-bedroom, and I'm going to talk families. I know there's a range. You're looking from $3,500 to $4,500, depending on what neighborhood or county you want to stay in.
In South Carolina, if you're staying in like a really nice, even middle of the road at this point, middle of the road, 3-bedroom apartment, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment, you're looking somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,500 a month. That's for like a nice one. Like you're not in Slumville.
I have a buddy in Long Beach, and I think he's paying $1,800 for a 1-bedroom condo.
That's insane.
Might be paying $1,600. And it's kind of in the hood. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, and the only reason why he's staying there is because it's so cheap. Because the lady doesn't want to find a different renter, so he's lived there for years, and she's not increasing the rent that much. I think he said if he had to move, he'd have to be paying $1,800-$1,900 for something comparable. We're talking maybe 600 square feet.
Yeah,
maybe 700.
You can find like 1-bedroom, what they used to be called like efficiencies or whatever, but you can find like 1-bedroom apartments here for $800 or $900 a month, like in good neighborhoods all day long. Now you could like rent trailers or whatever and houses and that kind of stuff. You can rent those out for like between $800 and $1,200 a month with multiple bedrooms and that kind of stuff. You can live on the cheap side. You can live in like kind of rougher neighborhoods and that kind of stuff. You can spend $600 to $800 a month and still get like 2 or 3 bedrooms and a couple bathrooms. It's gotten more expensive over the last 5 or 6 years, but it's still way cheaper than that.
You are going to pay about $1,000 to $1,200 if you have roommates. That's the only way you get to that number.
That's insane to me. Absolutely insane.
California's a hellhole. I would not be here if it wasn't for my wife, my in-laws, and my mom. They're all assholes, and they will not leave this horrible state.
It's like those videos on YouTube or whatever where you see people from like New York who have like 400 square foot apartments and they're paying $3,000 a month for it. You know what I mean? It's like, what the shit? You barely got enough time to like lay down because you're having to work so much to pay for this place.
Or drive to work.
Yeah. God forbid.
I will throw out my own. I don't want to say it's not a misconception, but it's a great depiction of California. So California people are fake as fuck. I don't get along with a lot of Californians from that respect. I can play both sides of it, but I have a hard time being fake. And I heard, I think, a comedian say this, so these are not my words, and she was telling a story. And she said, West Coast versus East Coast. I'm just going to say New York versus Southern California, right?
Right.
Everybody in California is nice, but not kind. But people on the East Coast are not nice, but they're kind. And she said, let me give you an example. She said, your car breaks down on the side of the road. What's going to happen in California? Oh my God, I'm so sorry that happened. Do you need to borrow a phone? Are you going to be okay? All right, well, you seem like you're good. Okay, I got to go to my job or go get my Starbucks or somebody else will come help you. Okay, bye. Have a great day. That happens in New York. Someone pulls over and goes, fuck happened to you? Look at you drove your car. You ran over some nails. What's wrong with you? You didn't see? Weren't you paying attention? Look at your goddamn phone. All right, man. Where's your jack at? All right, you don't know how to work your jack? What the hell's wrong with you? As they're jacking your car and they change their tire for you. All right, motherfucker, get out of the way. And then you go on with your day. Right? They weren't nice, but those are solid people who helped you out.
Yeah.
California, people will look for a camera because they think it's a practical joke, or they think they're going to get robbed if somebody actually is nice to you and helps you on the side of the road.
That's different. I think that's different in the South, like versus like East Coast.
Oh, sure.
Like Northern, because like, and I don't mean this in any disrespect because my mother-in-law is from New York, but like the further north you go on the East Coast, the less nice those people are.
Sure.
So like the further south you are, typically, and generally speaking, this is a misconception that a lot of people have, but it's true. For the most part, it's like everybody's just like the Southern sweetheart. That's not always the case. However, there are a lot nicer people who are like nice to your face and like very friendly and that kind of stuff the further south you are until you hit Florida, because that's all people from the north who like migrated down when they retired, right?
All the snowbirds, yeah.
But like I've had like several interactions with people where like I've stopped to help them with, you know, the broken down vehicles and that kind of stuff. I consider myself like fairly handy and I know a little bit about a lot of stuff. So I can help a lot of people. Generally speaking, try to do that. But like I had a coworker who stopped recently to help somebody who had a vehicle that was on fire who got shot and robbed. So my desire to help people stuck on the side of the road kind of dropped significantly after that happened, because it's like I don't want to get shot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't want to be the nice guy that like stops to help you and then gets robbed. I don't want to do that. But like generally speaking, a lot of people in the South are very nice. They're knowledgeable. They'll do whatever they can to help you. The further north you go, they'll probably still help you, but they're going to be kind of dicks about it. They're going to treat it like me and your relationship, right? Where it's like, you piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Like we care about each other. You know what I mean? Like we joke around and that kind of stuff. Like I'm generally concerned about your well-being, but I'm going to give you a fucking hard time.
He's still mad at Batman.
Right.
Yeah, he's still mad at Batman.
Oh, God, you son of a bitch. Ben Affleck's the best Batman. I don't care what you say. Maybe if you watch the films, you'd know.
See what I mean?
Anyways, but yeah. All right, so let me jump to a couple of other subjects. I've been trying to like counter because I know we're running low on time. I've been trying to do like 2 or 3 of these at a time. So here's like 2 of them. I've only got 3 or 4 left, but so here's a couple of the misconceptions that I've heard about or I have. And it's that everybody who lives in California has moved out there because they think that they can become a rock star or a celebrity, or that everybody hangs out in California in Hollywood, or they run into celebrities all the time. Those kind of go hand in hand. You either want to be a celebrity or you think you're going to run into them.
That is the first misconception you have. And here's why I think it actually holds water. Anybody who thinks of California is projecting their own thoughts and desires of that onto Californians, right? And so I've seen people come from out of state. The first thing they want to do is drive down to Hollywood and look for stars, or they get really dressed up, dolled up, and want to walk on Melrose or something like that and pose as a model and hope they get discovered.
Right.
Californians who grew up there just don't care. If they want to go to Hollywood, they're either going for the nightclubs or the drugs, right? That's the 2 things you go to Hollywood for? You don't go there to get discovered. Now, sure, I've heard of the Viper Room. I had a buddy who used to go there frequently, invited me once. I did not go.
I've never heard about it.
Sure, yeah, that's where, Google some of the stories about the Viper Room. And
I shall.
yeah, okay, there's, certain places. I was with my buddy who went to UCLA, and he's like, oh, let's go to this tea house. This is where the Olsen twins hang out, right? But other than the paparazzi, it's just, yeah, whatever. I got my own stuff to do. Cool. Yeah, I've seen stars. I was in Hollywood. I went out to a bar/dinner place, and I saw Debo from Friday, and he was sitting right next to us and eating his food. And then
rest in peace.
Yeah, we just looked over at him, smiled, and went about our day, kept on eating our food. I don't know anybody other than non-Californians who go on celebrity sighting tours. It's just
like like you're walking down the street or you're going to the grocery store and you like bump into Mila Kunis or something. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of thing that you think happens. I had a buddy who moved out to California probably a decade or so now, who like ran into Anthony Hopkins at a bar, and like he went up to him and like Anthony Hopkins like bought him a drink or something and like wrote something on a napkin for him. And it was just like, you hear about those kinds of stories all the time. So you start to believe that just happens. Like I went to California for a week and I ran into like, Chris Hemsworth or whomever, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. We had an alliance mate once. He went to California for a visit and he ran into Ron Jeremy.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, it happens, but you have to go looking for it. My point is Californians usually aren't going and looking for it. Now, if you live in Hollywood or the places and you hang out there because you want to be in that crowd, of course you're going to run into more of them. People forget how many people there are here and how many good-looking people there are here. It just statistically, there are not that many of them running around to get washed out by the rest of the population. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. And then I've got 3 things left on my list. So everybody smokes weed in California, and then theme parks galore and stuff to do everywhere in California. And then everyone is attractive or cares about their appearance.
So 2 out of those 3. Oh, maybe 3 out of 3. So for the marijuana thing, it's legal here. It's big in the surfer culture. It's big in the African American culture. It's big in the Mexican culture. Yeah, there's a lot of weed smoking here.
Okay.
But, I can't because I'm California centric. I would think Colorado has a crap ton of weed smoking too. Now it's been legalized. So
yeah, I've heard of a lot more people taking trips to Colorado from the South than like ever.
Yeah.
I've only been alive for like less than 4 decades, but more than my life in the last 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, marijuana use is big in the hippie. It's big in the love and peace. People don't like to say it. It's really big and liberal in colleges, right? There's a ton of colleges here. So I guess comparatively, yeah, I think California probably does have quite a bit of marijuana use comparative to other states. Now, is everybody lighting up? God, no. No, you don't. But you can walk down the street and smell it if you're walking through a neighborhood. It has happened.
You're at a laundromat.
Yeah, especially at the invention of vapes.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I'll be driving a car and I'll roll the window down and I'll see a just big cloud of smoke. And I'll be like, wait, oh, yeah, I know that smell. So I don't think that happens too much in other states. So I'm going to say, yeah, I think you're actually right now that I think about it.
That's where the cowabunga dude comes into play. It's like,
yeah. Okay, so what was the second one on that list?
So like theme parks, there's something to do everywhere, right? Like Disneyland is obviously huge in California.
Sure.
But like there's a lot of other attractions and that kind of stuff. So a lot of people think that like you're as close as everybody is in everybody else's mind to the beach, you're also that close to a theme park or an attraction, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I would call Southern California one big theme park.
Okay.
Now, they're not all going to have rides, but anybody who comes to Southern California is going to be overstimulated. There is too much to do here. That's why we're so crazy. That's why you have to have double incomes. That's why everybody wants to be here between the weather and the nice housing. There's too much to do. And so people can actually get burnt out. Like you said, there's the beach, there's the universities. You can go up to Big Bear and, do some skiing. You can go up to the forest and I think was it Yosemite, Mammoth, the redwoods. You can go out to the desert and ride your motorcycle or your ATV. You can go camping. Tons of sports teams here. Tons of museums, historic downtown. And then you have every culture you could imagine. So you have so many restaurants everywhere of every ethnicity you can think of. Yeah, man, there's too much to do here. It is not good for your brain.
Okay. And the last like misconception that I have is like everyone in California is either attractive or very consumed with their own appearance, right? Like that's where the Valley Girl and your Decepticons come into play, right?
That, my friend, is not a misconception either. And I will give firsthand experience. So Fighter Wizard lived in the South. He lived in Colorado. He's lived in Southern California. And he's lived in other states. And firsthand experience, he tells me, he's like, yeah, man, the looks in California are different than other states. Now, here's what I will say. There is a bigger culture to be thinner because it's more of a beach mentality. You're going to be showing your body a little bit more, a little bit more shallow. So there is that aspect that people care more about their health. It is also warmer. So it is easier to work out than if you're living where it's, 10, 20 degrees. It's a pain in the ass to warm up your car and drive to the gym. And you got to have your long johns on and, your thermals and then undress out of that to get to your gym clothes. I can just work out in my garage, right? So it's easier to work out here. There's also more health conscious with nutrition. So it's easier to find healthy versions of food, gluten-free, right, vegetarian, whatever it may be.
Sugar-free, gluten-free, everything free.
Yeah. But specifically for the females, there is a higher level of care and maintenance to their bodies than out-of-state women. If I see hair on a woman, there needs some explaining to do. That's uncalled for, ma'am. How dare you show that in public? What do you mean your nails aren't freshly done every 2 to 3 weeks? It's expected and it's gone too far. Let me say I'm not a fan of this. It has gone too far. But the expectation of what is an acceptable presentation by a woman, I believe California has correct. Compared to outstate women who think stubble is acceptable. No, ma'am, it is not. So, warmer weather, you're going to be showing more skin, right? So, right. I'm sorry, I don't think, I know it is true. Now, whether women are more attractive or less attractive, I mean, that matters your preference. But I think if a woman is keeping a higher standard of maintenance, she's going to look more attractive. And then if she's working out more and eating cleaner, she's probably going to be thinner, which means more attractive. So I don't think it's a situation where you have like Iceland, where the women there are more beautiful than a lot of Europe because all those goddamn Vikings stole all the pretty women and took them to Iceland, right? And so now you have all the good genes there, or in Sweden. I don't think Southern California is one of those places where, all the pretty people go to Southern California.
Well, typically speaking, like back in the Viking times, the larger women were the more beautiful women, or were looked upon as the more beautiful women. Yeah.
I had no clue. I just know that
they treated it like bass fishing. If they weren't like, the higher the pounds, like.
Well, they can give you more kids, right? I think is the philosophy behind that.
Wider hips.
I think you also have a lot more diversity in Southern California, right? You got blacks, whites, Asians, Hispanics. You got everything, right? So whatever your flavor is you're going to be able to find it in Southern California. So I think all those elements, people are more attractive in California, but primarily because they care more about being attractive.
Yeah.
Because we're more shallow in California.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
It is what it is.
Before we continue, is there any other misconceptions that you have about South Carolina that like maybe I could answer?
Do you want to do it on this one, or you want to do it I think we should do a separate one.
Well, it's supposed to be back and forth, but like we got a little long-winded about like some of the California things. So
why don't we save it for another one?
Yeah, we can do that.
Well, we have went a lot longer than we anticipated. We were supposed to do only 30 minutes of both misconceptions for both states, but we stuck on California. We're going to end it here. and move over to part 2 of misconceptions of the South. And I don't think I'll have any misconceptions because it's an awful place to live. So if you guys are willing to listen, we are willing to talk. I'm a Californian. What did you expect? Told you we're shallow. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Oh my God.
That's it. That's our show. Join IEG and myself for our 3rd installment of this show. But this time we'll be talking about Southern stereotypes. Please do us a favor and like, subscribe, share this podcast so we can get some traction. Once I get around to it, check us out on our socials. Combative Nerds on Patreon, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You know the deal. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you next episode.